a countdown. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to New Era Paranormal Podcast. The founder, JD, could not be here tonight. This is Irene Heloise. I am subbing for him tonight. And our guest is Cory Lollman from the Lollman Chronicles. Hello, Cory.
Hey.
Hello.
There we go.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about Cory. He has been investigating the paranormal for he's always been fascinated by the paranormal for about 20 years or so. And he decided about 4 years ago to travel across the Midwest and do paranormal investigations with his father, Dan, and his wife, Tia. And I've met Dan. I haven't had the opportunity to meet Tia yet, but Dan is a fabulous fella. They worked on The House of 1859, which is airing on the Scare Network TV app and channel now. And he's also the star currently on the Lollman Chronicles on the Spirit Realm Network, which is where he and I met. And welcome. Tell me.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Tell me, what led you into doing doing your paranormal investigations and going down this particular route?
So it's actually a lot more simple than what a lot of people think. I think, because a lot of people have experiences when they were younger or throughout life that kind of drew them, and we never really had any of that, myself included. Not that we can logically remember, maybe if I was a kid or something I don't remember, who knows. But for us, it was just a fascination, especially when the show started airing on TV. As a teenager in high school, something like that, when you really hang out with just a minimal amount of people, and you bond over it with, Dad and I used to watch it all the time, throughout high school, and then eventually it just got to a point where, we could afford to kind of travel ourselves. And we were like, let's go. We don't believe everything we see on TV, right? So for us, it was really going out and finding that truth, finding out what it really is. And thankfully, we've been able to go to some pretty cool places and experience some pretty cool things.
Very cool. Have you, as a result of going down this path, found a new perspective on things, on the world around you, on the paranormal community?
Yeah, so definitely. I think if you don't, then you're kind of bullheaded and stubborn, which, people can be. But, you always go into it thinking one way. We really went into it not knowing what to expect. We had never been to an event before. We had never really met anyone that did it. We just kind of threw ourselves into the fire and said, hey, let's go do this, see what it's like, have some fun. At first I think for us, with not knowing what to expect, we went in with a very open mind. And it really, the way it's changed now compared to before is now we don't react to every little creak in the wall, every little noise. It really takes a lot for us to turn our head and say, hey, what was that? But some of the things that we've experienced have definitely changed my perspective on what could be there after we leave the earth, after we pass away and die. Where do we go? Do you have a choice on where you go? Can you stay here? Can you go to heaven? Can you go to whatever realm that you may or may not believe in? And for me personally, it's really more a good and evil thing. A lot of people, especially with paranormal, relate that to demons and evil spirits and stuff like that. And for me, it's kind of the flip side. I'd rather interact with spirits that were living and are just stuck in their location where they're at, or in a moment of time that they enjoyed, and really talk to them and try to understand maybe why they're there, what they're going through. A lot of times we just try to have a normal conversation with them, and just kind of see how their day's going, and really try to interact with them more in that way, instead of going in and saying, hey, demon, come scratch me, or prove yourself to me, or something related to that. we really stray away from. But it's definitely an eye opener when certain things happen. Um, I know I always question myself, when you're touched or grabbed or you hear something, or it doesn't matter what it is. In the moment you react, but then the next day and a week later, I'm like, okay, that really happened, or am I just making stuff up in my head? But as time has gone by, I've learned to trust that and to really just essentially see things for how they are. That, there is this thing out there that we can't see, this realm, right? And I think that's where my perspective has changed a lot. I believed in Jesus, I believed in Christ, I believed in the devil, that stuff. But thinking about it in that aspect, where there's still spirits here, there's not just angels, demons, but there's spirits there that you can try to interact with. I think it's a big step for me, and how my perspective has changed is that it's not all good and evil. Sometimes it's just people, and that's what we really like to try to delve into a little bit.
Do you find that the more you dive in, the more experiences you have? And is it because you're more open to it? Or do you think that it's just because you're putting yourself in situations that give you more experience?
So one day this is going to bite me in the tail. So, and my dad and T will tell you too, that I will sit there and ask for anything and everything to happen, no matter what it is, no matter how bad it is. It has not quite bit me in the tail. It's had some pretty creepy things happen by doing it, but I know one day I'm going to have to learn to be a little bit more careful with it. But I think that for me, it's becoming uncomfortable and learning to live in that uncomfortable area. Because I really think that with that energy, that fear or that feeling that you get when you are uncomfortable, I really think that I can help feed things to happen. T, on the other hand, she goes into it. She does the investigating. She hates suspense. She does not want to be touched. She doesn't want her hair pulled. She literally, I think she did a solo for the first time last month during our last filming. Dad's just like, hey, whatever happens, happens. That's hey, show me something. Let me feel something.
Wow.
But for me, it's really sticking your nose right into the middle of the pie and seeing what kind of mess you can't draw up.
Which is so dangerous sometimes, but
it really
I understand why you do it. Well, sometimes there are people that are on the fringe that push. I'm not that person. I don't provoke, but and like offer up my energy, but under certain circumstances, especially. But I understand why you do it. If we didn't have people that push, would we have some of the information that we needed, or that we have now?
And it might be different, if we went, if I go to Villisca House here in Iowa, which is, everyone knows the story, don't even have to explain it. I'm not going to push it like that. I might go in and try a little bit, but as far as I would go at some of the locations that we went to, the other month, I might push it a little bit more there, but I don't feel like something there is going to claw my eyes out. So it's more, and we haven't really visited too many places that are supposed to have that darker demonic type stuff to it. If we did, we'd probably be a little bit more cautious and careful.
Yeah.
Especially with what's going on with me personally and trying to learn how to use that stuff. That'd definitely be something I'd be a little bit more cautious with there. But I'd probably still do something stupid along the lines and at some point.
As long as it's you and not me.
That's what Tia says. Go for it, but don't you dare bring anything home.
She's right. Is there anything you do do you do anything to try and protect yourself before you come home?
Nope, not a thing. I do have, and I don't know what it is. So, Katie Hopkins, a good friend of ours, when we're at Malvern, and my opinion has drastically changed on Ouija boards. Before, I didn't even want to be around them. Now I'm a little bit more open to being around them. And that was the first time I was around one at that location, and happy, laughing, having a good time. We had Josh Hurd there. We have Vanessa there, who was a psychic that we just had at the event last month. So we're just having a blast. But for some reason, when we took that out about halfway through it, I got extremely mad. Like not vocally, but like internally, I felt very angry for no reason at all. So Katie gave me this stone. It's a little black stone. I'm not sure what it is.
Tourmaline, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it stays in my top dresser drawer. And I realized that a couple weeks ago, actually, that it was in there, and I didn't know where I put it. So that's about it. I just have to keep that in my bedside. But before we come home, we really don't. Thankfully, we haven't had anything come home that we know of.
Yeah.
And if we did, we'd probably start being a little bit more careful. Especially, I don't think the wife wants some ghosts hanging around and messing with her hair in the middle of the night. And
well, that means she'd be on her own in the space. When you're not there, she's on her own. Yes. It's almost like doing an investigation on her own in a space.
Exactly. Like I think that's a big reason why she doesn't want to put security cameras up anywhere. Because if she sees something weird, she's it'll be a mental thing from that day forward.
So when you talk about doing this investigation, was this the Horridge House investigation or a different one?
The one with the Ouija board?
Yeah.
So this is actually at Malvern Manor.
The
first episode. It was our first time there, actually. We just went with a group of people. Went with a group of people and had fun. And, it was just kind of a relaxed thing. We weren't filming. We were just doing whatever. And that was really, I think, the only personal experience I think I had there. But it was a new one for me because I had never had something affect me in that way before. Whereas now it's probably happened a few times. Not with the anger, but, different emotions and stuff. But it was weird. And Katie actually told me, that you need to go outside. I'm going to give you something that'll kind of help out a little bit. And then I was fine after that. So whatever mojo she worked on me had to work.
Well, that's good. That means like you feel like you are a little more open then.
Oh,
so yeah.
I am a lot more open than my wife. I think she wants to experience something, but she wants to see it fly off the table. She doesn't want it touching her, grabbing her, pinching her, scratching her, any of that. She would rather maybe see something else or, the ghost boxes, the ovuluses, that stuff is kind of stuff that she enjoys seeing, the REM pods going off or unexplained bangs and crashes. She's all for all that. Just not more of the physical stuff. Me, I'm open for whatever they want to play around with or however they want to do it that night. Let's play. Just don't follow me.
Did you have to convince her and your dad to investigate with you, or did they already have interest in?
No, so Dad always did. He was all for it. Tia took a little bit more convincing. And she can kind of get burnt out a little bit from it. But she was kind of fascinated with the idea too. She's like, okay, this is intriguing. We watch the shows. Right now we're getting ready to start watching the new Expedition X, shows that are on. We've really enjoyed watching those. And
Josh Gates.
So she'll watch the shows and stuff like that. She loves doing the events. She loves, group investigating with a group of people and having fun with it. So she took a little bit more convincing, but I've learned not to psych her out too much beforehand. So before I'd make her watch episodes or YouTube videos on the locations we were going to, and I've kind of stopped doing that because it mess with her mentally. And she's like, okay, I'm not going now.
Well, it might be good. It's kind of like the medium that goes in cold. You might want to have an objective person that has no idea what they're going to walk into. So they had maybe something cleaner when it comes to evidence or experiences. So
she's highly skeptical, probably more than any investigator you're ever going to meet. So if we can't convince her of something, we're okay. We don't get to show it.
Well, that's good.
Yes, very.
Your standards high.
There's been a few times where Dad and I just looked at her and said, "You're not allowed to come anymore. You're killing it." Because you never know how much tires going over railroad tracks sounds like someone sprinting across stairs until you actually go out and do it. But We've done it. And we've debunked it. And
Were
she's the
you,
one that ruined it. Dad and I were like 100% set. Like that does not sound like tires on railroad tracks. Like it straight sounds like someone's running around in laps upstairs. She's like, no, watch, go get in the truck and go over the railroad tracks. And so Dad did, and sure enough, that's the exact sound that it made.
that's awesome. I like her. I like her thinking, her mind.
She's like, man, killed it. But it's good. You know, it's definitely healthy, especially for me who really pushes into it, to have her be that ground level for me that said, well, what about this? And give me a different look at it than what I might be seeing.
Very cool. I like that. She compliments you.
Yeah, she beats me sometimes.
So okay, so you found interest in the paranormal. You found that you're more open. You've convinced your wife. You got your dad to come along, and you started investigating. And then you were led to the Horrorage House, which is your documentary that's airing right now on the Scare Network.
Mm-hmm.
And what led you to? We'll show a preview here in a second. But what led you to the Horrorage House?
So Josh and Katie Hopkins, I got a hold of them a while back to kind of talk about Edinburgh Manor, because they used to do a lot of the paranormal tours there. And I knew the general history, but I kind of wanted to learn more what it was about. So I got a hold of them and kind of did a little live thing on Facebook where we kind of talked about it and everything. And it kind of bloomed into a very good friendship. Since that point on, we've done a lot of stuff with them out there. They actually invited us to go to the house with them one night, and we went, and it was the first time I had been touched by something I could not see. I may or may not have jumped up like a little girl. I will leave that for your imagination.
That's a check.
There is a video, but it's hard to see because the IR lights were dying on the camera, so you can hear it, but you can't see too much, which I'm thankful for. So we went out there a few times and just investigated it, and we absolutely love the house. The Historical Society does a phenomenal job with keeping it restored. And really the documentary was just kind of an idea to try to help bring awareness to it, and to help them out and get it started and open it up to the public and stuff. So we spent 3 nights there investigating it. I did a solo. My wife was supposed to do one after me, but yeah, she got too scared. And so, yeah, we spent 3 nights out there. And the documentary is really a collective of all the days and nights that we spent out there, from, loading up and going to the storms rolling through to the first night. We actually had Josh and Katie come out along with Josh Hurd. He came out and investigated the second night with us. And then the third night was kind of a little bit more quiet. At that point, we were a little worn out.
Yeah.
And so it was a little bit chiller night. I did the solo. But yeah, the ultimate goal with it was to really bring more people to the location and help out the Historical Society. And 100% of the money that they get from the investigation goes towards keeping the house restored or keeping the train depot in town restored. There's some older schools there that they try to help out with. So it really all goes right back into it. It's all volunteer work that they do. And we really like that about the place. We adore Josh and Katie. Sharon, the president of the Historical Society, is a wonderful lady. And it was really our way of saying thank you for letting us come out there and kind of explore it.
Well, that's awesome. Okay, let's play a preview and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. Let's see if I can do this without JD. Let's see how it goes.
You hit the play button.
I have to share the screen too. All right, let's see. Okay, here we go.
This place it's next level.
You did not just touch my shoulder.
into a place and the energy. And that's exactly what this place is.
I can't.
I lost your sound.
How about now?
There we go.
How are we sound? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So technical difficulties. Sorry about that. But we heard a little bit about Estelle at the end there. She's not a part of House of 1859. So, okay. Now I watched this. I saw your documentary and you had some pretty cool experiences. I want to bring up at least one. But what do you think stood out the most from your experience there?
What the most important thing for me is validation. So like when we have one piece of equipment go off, I love having something else go off that validates what's going on. I'm almost like a secondary piece of evidence. So for me personally, was when I seen the shadow figure during my solo. It was another first for me that
was
I
toward
can,
the end, right?
Yeah, it was. Now I feel like I've seen stuff move before, but I rationalized it out. But this was the one that I was like, okay, I feel like I just seen this and I'm looking straight that way. And so it wasn't like I caught it out of the corner of my eye or anything. I'm looking down that hallway and see this short little, a mist or it's just shadow. And so when the REM pod went off, that REM pod's in the room next to the room I'm sitting in. So the direction the shadow figure would have went into the room where the REM pod was sitting. So when that went off, it was like, okay, now you got my attention a little bit more. I know that my mind's not playing tricks on me. So for me, that was probably my favorite out of all of it.
It's kind of so while I was watching and I tried to lean into what you were experiencing, and before you had seen the shadow figure, I remember I looked over and I said, there is a male in the space with him. And then you talked about having a shadow figure in front of you. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And so then to have it validated by your piece of equipment, that's pretty awesome. And I look forward to the day when you can actually feel it and see that too and know that something's there.
Funny that you mentioned that. So we filmed our last episode for the show in Spirit Realm there. What month are we in? At the end of July, we filmed that. And I told my wife and Adam, like, hey, okay, I'm going to try to play with this a little bit. I don't know if it'll do anything. I don't know if what I'm going to say is going to be crazy or not, but I'm going to say it anyway in case weird crap happens. So I ended up describing this man to my wife and dad as we're sitting at that same table, actually. And I told her, I'm just like, I feel like he's just standing over here and he's just watching. But I could literally describe him down to the shape of his jawline and the way his hair was and what he was dressed in. And in my mind, I've been there so much and I've seen pictures of George Horge before who lived in the house. And in my head, I'm like, that it's not George. That doesn't look like him. George had every picture that you see of George. He has a big burly beard.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we went back for the event there a couple weeks later, we were in the room next to it, where all the pictures are up on the fireplace and everything. And another lady came forward, who must have her own set of abilities, and pretty much described a man just standing there watching. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, cool. And then I look over and I see one of the pictures of George, and I'm staring at it, and I'm like, I wonder what George looks like without a beard. Because I'm sitting there looking at this picture, and I've never seen him without a beard. I still haven't, and I really want to, because I'm curious to know what he looked like when he was younger and did not have it, because it was a younger man. Now, we also don't have any photos of Augustus Rock, who also lived in the home, so it could be him. But my wife Tia actually said that she felt like a moment, like a little bit before that she felt like someone was just standing around, like she felt like she was being watched, pretty much. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna try something, and that's just what came out. Like prominent jawline, little hair parted over a little bit longer though, little old school blue suit with some ruffles or something. I'm just like, how am I able to describe this man that's not here? But I can, yeah. It was weird.
Good for you. I knew you had it in you. I knew all along.
Yeah. I don't think I tried it the rest of the night. I wanted to really do it when I did my solo for the show that night. But the second I got in there, this REM pod was just firing off. I mean, it was doing temperature change. It was doing the antenna alarm thing that it does, and it did it for pretty much the entire hour that I was in there by myself. So I didn't even really get a chance to do it. But yeah, so that was entertaining.
Okay. So there's a part, let me describe it a little bit, where you're, I think you were going up, you might have been going upstairs, and you were holding a walkie-talkie.
Yes.
And you could hear a woman's voice.
That was creepy.
Walkie-talkie. Okay, so walkie-talkies can be very controversial in the paranormal world. And I mean, it did sound like there was a female voice coming through that walkie-talkie. So I know you had to do cuts and things for the documentary. How were you sure? And first, if you want to describe it a little bit, but also how were you sure that it wasn't something else, like some other, somebody else's walkie-talkie with interference or something like that, or somebody on your team?
Of course, that's definitely something that we were thinking about. Like, hey, is this interference? So I'll describe it a little bit. So I was just going up to adjust some of the security cameras, and actually it had started. Katie she has empathic abilities, so she'll sense certain things. And for whatever reason, when she tells me to go in there and do something, I just go do it. I don't ask questions. I just run towards the fire. So she had actually, she called or texted me and was like, hey, you need to grab an audio recorder or something and go upstairs and ask about the lady. And so I thought, I'm not going to grab just a recorder. I'm grabbing the damn camera. I'm shooting a documentary. If something's going down, I'm going to get it. So I grabbed the camera. The second I get up there, I put the camera down. I have the walkie-talkie so I can talk to my dad and wife and the camper to see if the security camera is working right, because it was kind of bugging out. And so I'm adjusting it, and then this moany lady's voice of some kind comes through the walkie-talkie, and I literally thought it was them trying to tell me something. And so I asked them, hey, were you saying something? And they told me no, pretty much. I'm like, okay. And then it kept happening and kept happening. Now we've been out here probably now 15 to 20 times over the last few years. We've taken these out there almost every time we've gone there. We've never had anything come through them. No interference, no nothing. Now, could it still happen? Absolutely. And that's kind of what our brains were wrapped around. In the moment, it's creepy. It's happening. You can't really make out what it's saying. It just sounds like a female moaning, right? So later in the night, my wife and Katie are doing Estes method. And you see this in the film. And I don't know if people have connected these, and I left that kind of goose egg out there for people to relate if they can catch it. They're doing an Estes method. Tia's asking the questions. Katie's got the headphones on. Well, she jerks him off and gets creeped out by a weird lady moaning in the ghost box. And in all
she
honesty,
couldn't make out what she was saying. I remember that.
yeah.
Yeah, same as on the radio.
I didn't know that happened until I was editing. And so when I seen that, my mind instantly went back to the walkie-talkie, and I'm like, the hell out of here. How is she going to capture the same thing come through the ghost box that was coming through the walkie-talkies? So it was more than just the walkie-talkie. It was a series of her saying, hey, you need to go ask about this lady. And then later on in the night, when they're doing Estes in the same area of the house, she gets that same noise, not knowing what had happened with the walkie-talkie earlier, because we were just investigating. She wasn't there at that time. And that's the stuff I love. You can correlate a series of events into pretty much one larger event. Now, could it still be a little bit of interference? It very well could be. That's the unknown.
Right. Very cool. Okay, so you talked a little bit about your experience. You're seeing the spirit in your mind's eye when you were doing Loman Chronicles, the Loman Chronicles for Spirit Realm Network. So, do you want to talk a little bit about how you ended up on that track before we show the preview of the show?
Just Spirit Realm in general, or
Spirit Realm, how Loman Chronicles became this series.
So Jim, our beloved boss man, if you call him,
Jim Martin.
Katie had actually shown him the trailer for the documentary. So it started out as a conversation of maybe putting that on there. And so we started talking, and it really flipped and turned into him wanting to know if we're interested in filming some episodes for him. And so, of course, I got to run it by the boss lady, and then I got to run it by the boss man, and
definitely.
And I think we really thought it was a great opportunity to not only be able to learn more and evolve as investigators, but for me personally, it was a way that I can work on my craft. It can allow me to get more practice in producing and editing film, while sharing our family's experiences that we go through. And that was a key point in wanting to do it. Is, you watch these television shows on Discovery Plus, a lot of these shows, and like we did, we always wondered, okay, is that real, or are you selling that for the ratings? So our primary thought was, this gives us a chance to show people real experiences, authentic nights that you are spending in these locations, where sometimes you're just kind of talking to the walls. Sometimes you're hearing loud bangs and footsteps around you, getting stuff grabbed, So that was our primary focus. We didn't want to be these over dramatic people that are just acting. We wanted to just be us, go here, film our experience, and share it with everybody. And so that's kind of what came about with the Loman Chronicles. And the name is, we were trying to think of something unique and true to us, that no one else would have. You have a lot of paranormal teams that might have the same name, just spelled differently, or this or that. So by putting our last name in it and keeping it to that family theme, it allowed us to be unique in that sense, while still putting out craft that people can believe in and relate to.
Yeah, that authenticity too.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for me, is I want people to relate to it. I want people to believe it. I don't want them questioning, okay, was that fake? Is he just hyping that up? No, I want you to believe it. I want you to, anyone that's going to watch it, not anyone, I guess, but a lot of people that'll watch it, they go out and investigate, or they have at some point. And so they're going to relate to it more if it's real and authentic than if it's overhyped or over dramatic. And so that's very important to me as an editor and producer, is showing you that real side of everything.
You find
Even if it's corny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Corny's good though. I think corny's fun sometimes. So, but I'm biased. But do you think that people are too addicted to the drama of it now that they can't go back to kind of the original style, or do you think there's still hope?
I think that I like to believe there's hope. I'm always hopeful for everything. I have a very positive
Me too.
mindset. I do, and I have a lot of people ask me about YouTube. And hey, have you seen so and so on YouTube or so and so on YouTube? And I won't knock anyone that does stuff on YouTube. You know, they have their own craft, their own way of doing things, and everyone's unique in that way. And if I can relate to your product and what you're putting on there, then I will watch it and I will support it. Now, there are a lot of stuff I have seen where if every title of every episode you have is demon this, witch this, evil this, you're probably going to lose me. And I've seen people that do that, and then I watch a little bit and I actually don't mind their tactics or their techniques that they're doing. But you lose me in my mind because now I'm like, okay, are you just doing this for clicks and clickbait and popularity? Or are you doing this to really further, you know, the research into it or to actually have authentic experiences? Me personally, I don't need the attention. So that's why it's not as important to me. And I think a lot of people watch it. You know, it's entertainment.
Yeah.
On YouTube, I feel like. And so I think people will watch it, but I'm hopeful that people will still enjoy the more authentic and realistic side of everything.
Yeah, especially, you know, there's a place for everything, but if they have drama, but they have good evidence and good investigation style, you know, it's still, you know, it's still usable, it's still believable, but, you know, as long as it doesn't get too far on the other side of the spectrum, and then because I worry that we lose people. You know, people think, oh, this is what it actually is, as opposed to really there's actual people out there really trying to see if they're getting real experiences, real.
I would say that if no one's ever done it for real, don't watch YouTube.
Yeah.
Don't watch YouTube. Or if you do, like, find something that's not this over cinematically joking around, you know, find something that feels more believable before you watch the entertainment aspect of it all.
That makes a lot of sense, because it's kind of boring sometimes. You know, you just sit there for an hour waiting to hear something.
Fall asleep doing an Estes method. Whatever happened? Because I tell you, that white noise will put you to sleep. Yeah.
So, in you know, thinking about that, what do you think your ultimate goal as the Lollman Chronicles, which I'll play the preview here in a second for everybody that's still waiting for me to do that. But for the Lollman Chronicles, like, what's or just the paranormal investigation in general? What do you think? You could have several goals, but if you could pick one ultimate goal of why you're doing this, what you want to accomplish with what you're doing.
I would say the ultimate goal, and this will tie in, and it's probably a little bit selfish, and I'll take that. My ultimate goal is to prove to myself that this is real, that it exists, that there are spirits that are there, that you can communicate with. You know, everyone sees the scary movies, the TV shows. For me, I want to know it's real. And my goal is to prove it to myself and put myself out there to have these experiences that say, okay, I know that this is real. For me, that's one of my primary goals. And I'm still learning that, you know. We've talked privately before about the psychic ability stuff, and I still have a hard time sometimes with my mind with that. But it's getting there. It's evolving, and I'm probably way deeper into it now than what I've ever been.
That's awesome.
So for me, it's really personal. And if I can help show other people how to do it, or how to respect these spirits that may still linger, you know, for me, it's their home. So I want to show them that respect, and I'm hoping in return, you know, they may come out and play a little bit or do something a little spooky, you know, or even just chat. You know, I love EVPs. I think they're one of the most convincing forms of evidence. Especially when they're crystal clear, intelligent, and you cannot explain to me what it is talking.
Where were we again when we had that experience? What was the house we were, where Jerry heard? Well, we thought Jerry said something. McIntyre, where we thought Jerry said something, and she was sitting right next to me, and everybody said, "Oh, who was that?" And I said, "Oh, that was Jerry."
Yeah.
But it wasn't Jerry,
It
and we
was not
got the
Jerry.
audio clear.
I actually think I still have the file.
That's
I should still have it. But yeah, I did not expect that because I thought it was her, but I was just trying to be quiet and listen and
yeah.
just be there. And then I'm like, oh. And what's crazy is back in that little corner to her left, I felt like I kept hearing something like move their feet in that dirt or rubble that's down there in that
Yeah.
basement. And then so when that happened, I'm like, okay, well, you got me. So yeah, but I absolutely love EVPs. I have a couple from the Horge house that really made me believe deeply in certain things, and primarily that spirits are intelligent and they are aware of what they're saying, what they're doing, and what you are doing. And it literally sounds like there's a person standing right next to me talking to me. There's no muffled, static noise behind it. It is just words responding to the question I asked. And I'm like, it's just me and my wife in this house. I know we weren't talking.
Yeah.
And for it to be as clear as it was, there's no way it came from outside. There was no one else in the house. It just sounded like someone was standing right in the room with us and responded to me. And they're probably some of the most crystal clear pieces of evidence that we've been able to capture. So I absolutely love them. I think they're very difficult to debunk when they're that clear.
Yeah.
And even when you give it to a skeptic and you say, hey, can you try to explain this? Because I will not judge you. If you don't believe in crap, that's fine. I'm not going to try to convince you of it. I might say, hey, can you help me out and just listen to this and tell me what you think of this? Because you're going to give it to me from a different perspective. And when I watch you just sit there and you're like, oh, it's probably someone there, in the room and you're faking it or something. I'm like, that doesn't benefit me at all.
Right.
Like I don't get paid. I work a normal 40-hour work, sometimes more than that, a week job. Yeah. What benefit is it for me to just have someone in the room whispering these words to myself? It's completely pointless. I don't need to be popular. I don't need to impress you. This is what it is. You can choose to, give me a real perspective or just choose not to believe it. That's fine. But I always like to have them listen to that and say, hey, give me your perspective. What is this?
Yeah. That's where I love to differentiate between the skeptic and the denier. Comes up all the time.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Okay. Let's take a look. So this preview is for your episode at Malvern Manor, correct? Okay. So let's see.
Do not judge me from jumping back real quick. It was creepy.
I judge you. I judge you very much. All right.
That's okay. I judge myself.
Okay. Here we go.
The spirits and the building itself know what you're going to do before you even do it. Schizophrenics, even murderers were housed in this building. This building will mess with you on a very personal and mental level.
Okay.
What we call Malvern Manor right now is actually the structure itself was constructed in 1869, and we know it was the fourth structure that was built in town. And primarily its function at that time was a hotel. Mainly it was servicing the railroad, which at that time was right out the front door. So people coming and going all the time. Now we also know that it runs as a hotel all the way up until the 1950s. So it has a pretty good run. At that time, it kind of takes an odd turn and becomes what we would consider to be more of like a nursing home. And then in the 70s becomes what we would consider to be more or less like a group home, which is servicing any form of what they considered to be a mental disorder. their consideration of a mental disorder back then was rather different than ours today. So the clientele here was very vast. People with drug and alcohol abuse, people with Down syndrome, very common type things, people with DID, or what they used to refer to as multiple personalities, schizophrenics, even murderers were housed in this building. So again, like, this is a very eclectic population of people coexisting together. And it ran like that all the way up until 2005, when then ultimately it shut its doors for the final time.
With such a wide variety of people being housed here, it's no surprise that Malvern Manor is one of the most active locations in the state of Iowa.
The first time that I was ever in this building and investigating and all of that, like, it was so active, in fact, that we didn't even know where to point the cameras. Like, it was almost too much. But it felt different. It felt odd, because now what started off with just like, oh, a disembodied voice and knocks and doors opening and closing and things like that has now become, full on audible screaming, the doors slamming, the lights like turning themselves off and on. I mean, we've had light bulbs literally explode. I mean, things like that. It's almost as if like the spirits and the building itself know what you're going to do before you even do it. So it's very important that when people are investigating Malvern Manor, that they bring their A game, basically.
Okay, so first, this show, first of all, the place is pretty, great experiences, but I want to, will this let me go back? It will not let me go back. But in one of your photos from the screen, from this, like the screenshots of the pictures of the old photos in the place, the one gentleman looks like the dad from the Amityville Horror. Did you notice him with the beard?
I did not.
I'm gonna
now
try
that you say it, I know who you're talking about, but no, I did not notice that.
Let me see if it'll let me go. Hold on. Let me see if it'll let me go back. Hold on.
What people coming in would be more of like a.
Let's see if we. We're gonna have a lull just so I can find the guy. Oh, wait, here we go. We're in the pictures. All right, let's see. Too far. Oh, I don't think we're gonna find it. Okay, if you go back and look and watch this again, you'll see a gentleman.
What's crazy is those are actually real photos that Josh has from when it was actually in service. So I was excited that he had those.
That's cool. I mean, that adds to it. It adds it also reminds you that there were people. There's people there, and there were people there. Their energy is still there. Yeah. So who had lots of different experiences in life, so it's good. It's good to have that. It's wonderful to see on here. So
I think that's a huge reason why, especially at Malvern, it can change every single day. The energy in the building, the experiences that you have or who you might interact with. And I think just like Josh says in the interview, there's such a collective group of people that was housed there. And then you even add in the aspect that it was a hotel way before that.
Yeah.
Just adds a different feel to it. When we first went, I would get lost trying to navigate through the hallways. Now I'm kind of more familiar. I can walk my way around probably blindfolded and backwards and know where I'm going.
That helps with walking around in the dark. That's for sure.
Yeah, but it's a heck of a place, and I love it. And I tend to have more experiences than what Tia or my dad do, but I'm also a lot more open with it. But what we experienced there and what we were able to capture on camera, you'll see it when I jump back. You'll get the multiple view from it on what actually happens and what led up to it.
Do you want me to keep going a little bit?
No, you don't have to.
I don't know if I cut.
That's the climax right there. That's as good as it gets in that episode. But it was phenomenal, and
Okay,
Yeah,
without totally giving it away, what do you think, other maybe than the jumping experience, would you say was something that stood out to you in terms of evidence and experiences?
so the evidence was actually kind of minimal during it. But it was a personal challenge for myself. I have a thing with porcelain dolls, especially if they're known to be haunted. I have kind of it's a love-hate thing. Okay. It used to just be a hate
I
thing.
get your
And
feeling. I get it.
it's more like a hate, but a fetish at this point, because I see them and I know what the history, not even the history with them, but for instance, Josh's doll there, the one I take out of the box in the trailer, it has moved on its own. It has jumped off a table in the house. They don't think it's anything evil. They actually think it's an old prostitute type lady. It'll put itself in very inappropriate positions and gestures and stuff like that. Now, do we know for sure? Who knows? What's
Is
that?
it just personal experience, or have they caught it on camera?
Someone caught it on camera coming off the table. And
wow.
the crazy thing with it is its foot is broken from when it fell. Now, this doll is their heads are a lot heavier than their feet. So typically, if you drop it, the head will hit first every single time. It will not fall foot first because the heavy part will take it down. And Josh did an experiment where he dropped it onto a pillow or whatever it was he dropped it on, and it went head first every single time. When it comes off this table, it comes off the table and just drops straight down. It doesn't,
almost like it jumps.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I actually might still have that on Facebook. So I know Josh sent it to me years ago. But he has a video that someone captured of it. And it keeps it in a case. As you see, I was taking it out. It's got holy water and a rosary that sits next to it that's been blessed by the Pope. And I had this crazy or lovely idea, however you want to look at it, of taking her out and saying, hey, I'm going to sit in front of you. Right. We're going to go face to face and we're going to see what happens. I was absolutely terrified. So we had everything out. We had the ghost box. We had the EMF. We had the REM pod. Of course, we had all the different. Yeah, we had all three camera angles. And we were able to capture a female voice of some kind during that session. And then some unusual knocks that you don't typically hear in that building. And so that was cool. But for me, that experience to face that challenge and say, hey, this makes me nervous as hell, but let's see what happens if I build that energy up and do it. And we're lucky enough to capture possibly a female voice and everything from it. So it was worth it. We even tried we went as far to, if it is a prostitute, we started thinking of those ideas and stuff. It's like, okay, what would make them happy? So we actually got some money out and tried to give her some money and see if that would entice any activity around.
Why would you do that, Cory? Why?
I don't know.
No, I'm just.
Yeah. So I was excited for that, and it took some convincing to Tia. She would not let me touch it with my hands, which is why I put gloves on. I was all for just, hey, come on out. Because I don't think Josh Hurd will touch the doll without wearing gloves of some kind.
They don't even touch Annabelle without gloves.
So I'm like, okay, because you let me take her out, I'll put the gloves on. So I did, and it was creepy, but I did it, and I survived. I did not get my throat cut or anything.
I'm glad you're alive. That's very good. You did mention that. Go ahead.
That's why I was. It's weird, like Peace Bottom at the I can't remember the name of the place, but I'm like, all right, I just want to sit here and stare at you. Like, I'm going to challenge you with my eyeballs right now and see what happens. That was a whole different level of weird, I guess, that I don't even remember.
The space was, the space helped too, and no power helped too.
Yeah.
Like, even though we're in the dark, it still adds a different level.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and Sue's husband. Why can't I remember his name?
From
Can't remember his name.
Is it Nick?
Sue's husband from
Sue's
Short
husband?
Bus Paranormal. Yeah, her husband. He was watching me, and he ended up telling me that, dude, you were just sitting there and like you were zoned out and just kind of rocking. And I'm like, didn't feel like I was. I just felt like I was staring at this doll, wondering when he's gonna do something. And I'm like, okay. And I guess he had actually tried to get my attention, and I didn't respond to him. But I don't remember any of that. I just remember just sitting there staring at a doll, wondering why everyone's so scared of him when he's just sitting there not doing nothing.
Meanwhile, you lost time, didn't think about what was
Little
going
bit,
on.
yeah. I guess so.
They find you
Yeah.
in the fetal position.
Somewhere. That'll happen one day. I have a feeling.
Hopefully it's when I'm there. I can't wait.
So yeah, for me that was pretty cool. I was happy I did it because there was a lot of doubt on whether or not we should or would, or because you never know.
Glad we went. Yeah.
There's belief on what's. I guess you say haunted, but is the doll really haunted or possessed, or is something just manipulating it in some way? So you always wonder if what people believe is dealing with this doll is actually what is doing stuff with the doll. So we were kind of cautious with it, but yeah, I'm happy we did it.
Okay, you mentioned that you had that on your Facebook. How about you let everybody know? I found the picture, so I'm gonna show that really quick. But I want you to share your social media, where people can find you. Give your whole summary real quick again for people so that they know.
Yeah, so it's primarily Facebook. It's under the name Lollman Paranormal, which we've had people ask why you don't change it to the Lollman Chronicles, and we always tell them, we're known as Lollman Paranormal. We do a lot more than just the filming for Spirit Realm. We do different events and stuff, and we'll do little side projects with people, I'm sure. So we wanted to keep it Lollman Paranormal so that it wasn't just about the show. It's about everything else that we're doing as well. We do have a TikTok. We've been trying to kind of revamp it and make it into like a fun thing while we can still show different parts of our projects and stuff. So it's kind of a boring little thing right now. But we are trying to just think of ideas to make it exciting and fun for people to go watch. Funny clips maybe from our investigations.
Yeah.
I've never seen my wife get so scared by my own shadow.
Well, you're pretty tall.
Yeah,
you have a very overpowering shadow.
So that was a fun one. So just different stuff like that. So we're still trying to kind of come up with ideas for the TikTok thing. But Facebook's mainly where it's at. That's anything that we're doing, you're going to know about it there.
Very cool. Okay, now let me see. Hold on. Let's do this again really quick. Right here.
There he is. This is going to sound so mean, and it's probably going to offend somebody somewhere.
Oh no.
Maybe I won't. I'll keep the thought to myself. I'm going to listen to the wife in my head right now.
Yeah. I can't. Save it for after we stop the live.
Pretty much. Tia tells me all the time, you really should learn how to not say things sometimes. I'm like, it's so hard though. Because I don't. I rarely have a filter. I'm surprised I used it there.
I'm proud of you. Hey, that's good. We know who you are. We know what person you are, because if you don't hold back.
Well, and it's all fun. Like I'm never going to purposely insult people in a very mean and demeaning way. It's all joke and all fun.
Yeah, definitely.
And anyone that knows me knows that about me. They know I have a very twisted sense of humor sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense what I'm saying, but it just comes out.
You're still loved anyway.
Yes.
And we still have fun investigating. So even if you don't make sense, it's probably because you were staring at the dolls for so long. Something happened up there.
Freaking Peace Bottom trying to play with me. This is him talking, not me.
Right. That's it. Well, Cory, I appreciate you coming on, and it was fun chatting and sharing your great projects and talking about Spirit Realm together. And Is there anything else you want to add before we head out? Anything?
The way to my heart is cookies for everybody.
Wait, what
cookies.
kind of cookies? Any kind?
At this point, it doesn't matter. I'm a whore for cookies.
Okay.
I absolutely
good to
love
know.
them. So if you want to bribe me, cookies.
Cookies it is. Bribery with cookies.
Yes.
That is how we will end this broadcast. Thank you, Cory. Lollman Chronicles. The Lollman Chronicles airs on the Spirit Realm Network and House of 1859. Right? For a second, I was thinking 1839. House of 1859 is on the Scare Network. And say hi to your dad and your wife for me. And I really appreciate you being on. And this is New Era Paranormal. JD could not be here tonight, but I'm sure he would have had a great time with you as well. And this is Irene and Cory signing off. I'm going to end the live stream. It was nice talking with you and spending time with everyone tonight.